Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to the Toronto Raptors 108-97 loss to the Milwaukee Bucks. Riker, the Bucks are the first seed in the Eastern Conference. They're a team that everyone's looking at the Raptors and saying, we have to beat this team if we want to get out the East, and obviously the Celtics and the Heat and the Sixers and all those teams are there, but the Milwaukee Bucks is the real test for the Raptors this season, and although the Bucks kind of handled this game, especially after with about 3 minutes to go in the second, that's when the Bucks really start to take over this game. Both you and I said it as we picked up the call. I'm really encouraged after this loss. Despite the fact we lost, the Bucks look really beatable watching this game.
And this is going to sound like some absurd home court bias, us making this statement after this game. But I think if you really watch it, what is encouraging about this is that really the main things that you're afraid of facing against this Bucks team, really the Raptors were able to break down, right? You're really nervous about Giannis just being unstoppable. I thought that their defensive rotations were fantastic, and I was paying particularly close attention to OG, who you've said should be the Antetokounmpo stopper, and I thought he did a fantastic job. Also, what are the chinks in their armor? There's a lot of open three-point opportunities there for the Raptors, and we're going to point out all of our scorers basically had their worst scoring nights this game. There's a lot of little things that I think I look at this Bucks team before tonight's matchup saying this is a virtually unbeatable team. Like, you're going to have to be 100% in everything in order to take them down. But after watching tonight, I think that there's a lot of little opportunities that the Raptors sort of expose this game.
Most definitely. And the biggest one we gotta talk about is Serge Ibaka, because I think Serge's game tonight, and he's been remarkable all year, having the best season of his career, had the best playoff run of his career. Last postseason was great, it seemed, in every series. And tonight was the first real game in a long time we've seen Serge Ibaka really struggle. 5 points, 2 of 15 from the field, 1 of 10 from the three-point line. And to put that in perspective, Serge Ibaka shooting 40% from the three-point line. And it's not like he was getting contested by Giannis or Brook Lopez on every possession. He was missing open shots and then started to get passive and started to hesitate on the looks he usually puts up, and then would be forcing it up with that unconfident shot. When you pump fake a shot and you should shoot it, and then he'll shoot it after, or you take a worse shot. That's what a lot of Serge Ibaka's game was tonight. And then the defense really packed it in, as Lopez didn't have to stretch out to Serge because he was missing his shots. So tonight, Ibaka, I think him just missing shots, and he's been remarkable all year. He won't have a performance like this again. It wasn't the Bucks defense that really startled him, in my opinion. And Ibaka, Lowry, and Fred, they all had missed looks that they're usually making in, night out, even against the good teams. It's not like we make them against bad teams and struggle against good teams.
Well, would Ibaka have been the key to this game? I think so, and you're right in what you said. He's also entering tonight's game a 40% three-point shooter, so he's in by no means a bad shooter from outside the perimeter. And you're right, it wasn't the defense that was stifling him out there. They didn't go in with the game plan, hey, we're going to limit his shots. They're saying, we're going to let him shoot as much as he wants. It just so happened he missed his first few shots, and you could see the hesitation every time he would get that open opportunity. He was thinking about passing it instead of shooting, and you need to have that score-first mentality, especially when, the emphasis on D is being put onto guys like Siakam and Kyle Lowry. If you have that chance to score, you got to go for it. And I think if he had to be more confident tonight, that it would have been a different story altogether, Ben.
Yeah, and you can look at the inverse of that. Chris Boucher coming off the bench at the center position. 10 points, 7 rebounds, knocked down 2 threes. And when that bench is on the court, obviously a lineup of Matt Thomas and Terrence Davis and Boucher and Rondae, they aren't more talented than our starters with Lowry, Fred, OG, Siakam, and all those guys. But because they were able to space the floor with Boucher at the center, and the Bucks not having to sag off like they did with Serge Ibaka, the looks that Thomas was getting, TD especially in the second half, they were a lot cleaner, and that's why I think they took a larger advantage over the Milwaukee Bucks. So you brought it up. With Serge Ibaka having a more improved game, just more confidence, so the defense has to guard him, I think that opens everything up for Fred VanVleet and Kyle Lowry, who also missed a lot of shots that they usually make. So Fred VanVleet only 14 points. 4 of those points came in like the last second. Almost hit a 3 that could have swung the momentum. Kyle Lowry, 10 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 of 12 from the field, 5 of 14. Our backcourt guards just weren't hitting the threes, and that's the big story tonight. The shots weren't going down.
The 4-point play did swing the momentum. Then we got the steal right away off that inbound, and then Fred VanVleet wanted to play hero ball. Yeah, he wanted to play hero ball and went for it, which I don't blame him, to be honest with you. I said to you, I don't think it's a bad thing losing this game because, you don't want to give away all your secrets to the Milwaukee Bucks, right? We flashed, we blitzed a few different defensive sets like we usually do. We didn't play anything too long, which I thought was good, right? Like they switched it up enough that I don't think that the Bucks are going to, learn everything off the study tapes here. But guard play, I mean, if we remember last playoffs, right? They struggled against the size of the 76ers, but then they bounced back, and a lot of it was the heroics of Norman Powell against the Milwaukee Bucks. So I don't expect that once we play the Milwaukee Bucks a second time, because we still have 2 more matchups now in the regular season, but especially into the playoffs, that we're going to see VanVleet and Lowry together struggle night in, night out. I don't think that the defense is that good, and maybe that's a hot take, Ben.
No, I completely agree with you. And let's get to some positives, because we've been talking about the Bucks progressively this season. Because we beat teams like the Atlanta Hawks or something. We bring up, okay, how are we going to use this to beat the Bucks? Because people don't really care about us beating the bottom feeders. We'll see. We want to see how Siakam's doing, how OG's doing, how the potential holes in the playoffs the Raptors have, how they will be filled against the Bucks. And it seemed like tonight, those holes that everyone's been speculating on, the Raptors kind of had them nailed down. Pascal Siakam tonight didn't really take over, but we knew the defense would be completely locked in on him. And he had 22 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. But the big thing with Siakam is you want him to be confident knocking down his 3-point shots against these teams. And he went 5 for 9 on the 3-pointers tonight. And he was doing a good job at swinging the ball when the defense was coming. He did have a few turnovers, made some kind of bad decisions with the ball, but overall had a really good floor game, in my opinion, at getting the ball out of his hands when the doubles came and getting open looks to guys like Lowry, VanVleet, Ibaka that just weren't going down. And our worry isn't the rest of the guys knocking down shots, but Siakam, I think he did all the right things against Giannis in Milwaukee tonight.
I'm glad we brought it back to the big man, because I also want to make the comment that we made Brook Lopez look amazing this evening. The Toronto Raptors, they made this guy look absolutely like a mountain in the lane. All credit to him, and all credit to the Milwaukee Bucks defense. They are one of the top defensive team. They are the top defensive team for interior D. Right? They're middle of the pack or lower in perimeter defense. But Brook Lopez, I'm sorry to anybody that's listening to this that is very high on this guy, but he's not a 5 block per game player against the championship defending Toronto Raptors. He's not a make every corner 3 guy. He's not somebody you should be afraid of. He was making everybody think twice when they made it to the lane. There's no way that they're going to keep, that he's going to keep that intimidation up in the lane, especially when we get guys like Marc Gasol back that can really bully, fight with him down low. So I think that showing confidence down there, like you said, with Siakam tonight, he was still being assertive, still getting in there. But I think that the next step will be him, despite, seeing a guy that's got a few blocks, still going up into him, challenging and forcing the refs to make a call.
That's definitely fair. Now, to be fair, Brook Lopez has been one of the best defenders in the league. According to all the advanced stats, he looks in better shape than he was last year in terms of moving and being that sort of rim protector that the Bucks really needed last year when we had guys like Kawhi and stuff attacking the rim. But you brought it up. He looked like Wilt Chamberlain tonight in the defensive end, just trying to block shots and stuff. And I think a lot of that was our stretch 5s weren't hitting their 3, so he could afford to sag off and help on Siakam get those different block shots and all that sort of stuff. So
And he's not quick, Ben. He's not quick because there was a few times where he's coming over on the switch or just on the rotation, right? If they had to drive past him hard, he's not quick enough to come back and then still get that block from behind. But it seemed like they were hesitant. They couldn't get the step on him tonight. But I think that that'll be one thing that you can pick up in the tapes reviewing it, that if you just drive hard past Brook Lopez when he's coming on a rotation, you can easily get a shot to the lane.
Yeah, most definitely. And yeah, he's good in terms of the defensive stats and all that, and that's a big part of the Milwaukee Bucks defensive schemes, being strong and that sort of stuff. But I think when the Raptors are firing, not even on all cylinders, just at the firing rate we're usually at in terms of the open shots and stuff, all these things that the Bucks are running, they'll be minimized to a certain extent, and we won't have those missed shots like we did tonight. And one final point before we swing into the segments, Riker. After watching this again, I see why Norman Powell usually goes off against this team. he's players that, and we saw it with Terrence Davis for a stretch in the second half particularly. I wouldn't mind seeing him get more minutes down the stretch in this one, but when you're explosive and you make decisive drives against the closeouts from the Milwaukee Bucks, their defense kind of breaks apart because they're half-weighing a lot of their sets because they want the offense to be a bit indecisive with what they're doing, take shots they're not used to taking, and they have the lengths to where it all makes sense to do that schemes, and that's why they're the best defense in the league. But Norman Powell, when he gets the ball in the wing, he can shoot it if they sag off him, and when he makes his drives, he has such a quick first step. He can get right to the rim and almost treat a defender that's not guarding him at full space, right? Treat them like they're not there. They'd be a pylon to Norman Powell. So with his such improved season, he's doubled his scoring average this year. I think seeing Norman Powell, especially in the playoffs when he comes back against this team, it's going to be really tough for the Milwaukee Bucks in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely, Ben. The Milwaukee Bucks, save for Ilyasova, they're practically their full healthy roster, and we still have some key guys that were missing tonight. But Ben, we'll swing into the segments, and we have some of the weirdest things that happened that we've ever witnessed in all of basketball this evening. Ben, it's not going to be the spicy Pele. We have some good ones, but let's start it off there. The spicy Pele of the day. I'm thinking of 2 good dunks. What do you got?
Oh, you got to go with my guy OG. Well, there's a couple dunks. I think you're gonna bring up the Boucher. I gotta bring up the OG. When he got the ball, it looked like he had an open dunk. Giannis loves to come out of nowhere and try and get blocks, but OG is just such a solid guy in terms of getting up there, getting to the rim, and he can't be pushed. That man is a mountain, and he was in the air, and we've always said he's got sneaky hops, and he just threw it down on top of Giannis.
And you said that I need to say it. And you're right. It's got to be Boucher. That putback dunk over. I don't know. I don't know who it was over. I think it might have been
Giannis as well. I think
Giannis
it was over Giannis as well.
might have got on 2 posters this evening. Wow. Just the athleticism on display by the Toronto Raptors tonight, Ben. Wow. But
yeah, it was remarkable. And before we swing into the well-anticipated OGs, I just want to bring up OG Anunoby. His offensive game, he was knocking down his shots. He did everything we needed from him tonight. And Ryker, I've been saying it. OG Anunoby's on-ball defense is upper echelon. I think if he got more kind of notoriety or got some more burn in terms of talking around the league, he could be an all-defensive first player this season, honestly, the way he's been guarding on ball. And tonight, he did a really strong job on Giannis Antetokounmpo, on top of dunking on him.
Well, the reason that he's not going to get any first-team accolades or probably any team accolade for all-D is that he doesn't spend enough time guarding the primary ball handler, right? It's because of the way that the defensive rotations, we saw a real mix of Siakam and OG trying to stay with Giannis, but then we had times where Serge Ibaka would guard him. I'd almost like to see, OG glued to Giannis, because you're right, he did show flashes where his defense was excellent this evening, but that's yet to be seen, Ben.
Most definitely, but not all plays can be the spicy Pele of the day, and some just make you say, oh, geez. And we might have the OG's play of the season, Ryker, so I'll let you take it away.
Ben, it might be the OGs of the century. I don't know if anybody in history has ever witnessed this. If you've attended a Harlem Globetrotters game, you might have seen it. It's something out of a comic book, Ben, out of one of those old-fashioned movies where there's no noise, it's just black and white. George Hill, he's up guarding Kyle Lowry in the heat of the moment, and Kyle Lowry's pushing up, and decides to go and pivot under his legs. He lifts like a horse. He lifts him up onto his back, and then has the audacity, Ben, to complain that it wasn't an offensive foul. I don't think we'll ever see anything like it again. We've seen guys go over other players, never under.
We've seen LeBron James jump over players to throw down dunks. We've seen Giannis jump over players to throw on dunks. Kyle Lowry decided to try to go underneath George Hill on that possession. He got the sweep there. He was going at the refs all night, and then says, you know what? He's done with all this. He's going to swing his way through and just try and go right between George Hill's legs. I have no idea what he was doing. Definitely made me say, oh, geez. And Ryker, is this a trend we're going to see? Is this going to be something we see across the league for the future? Is this one of those innovative plays that the refs just don't understand? Like the movie Semi-Pro when they called 2 fouls on the alley-oop. Is this a new move for the NBA?
Oh, Ben, it might be a new move for the NBA, but I'll bring it back. You versus me, one-on-ones. The old slip and slide, but with a little something extra. You stop halfway and roll through the person's legs. If you're not familiar with the slip and slide, search it up. It's a classic street ball move, Ben. Maybe Kyle Lowry, he's added it to his arsenal. You know, we got guys like James Harden. They got that double step back, right? He's known for that move. Kyle Lowry, he's looking to be known for something, going under legs. Maybe it's the next big thing.
Rikers pulled it out in one-on-ones with a bit more finesse than what Kyle Lowry showed on out there. But I want to hear from you guys. I want you guys to name this move from Kyle Lowry in the comment section below. But yeah, that was certainly a wild moment down the stretch of this one. But finally, the infamous, the one, the only Damari Carroll Gold Star Award. And Ryker, tonight, I guess we've talked about it enough. It's got to go just to the shooting for the Toronto Raptors and their open shots. Ibaka, Lowry, Van Vliet, a few timely shots that could have went down. It was a tough watch because the shots we usually make didn't go in, and I think we would have handedly won this one if those shots went down.
I agree, but this is also the Raptors Digest, and I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna give it to Chris Middleton, who was struggling to score because the defense was clamping down on him, and instead he draws 3 or 4 fouls outside the perimeter by, pump faking. And I get it. You got to stay down. And especially if you're jumping into a player, then they're going to call that a foul 10 times out of 10. Kyle Lowry loves doing it, but they caught on to it. There was one called on OG, right? And he thought there was going to be a pass, so he kicks his leg out. And then Chris Middleton jumps forward into OG's leg, right? He didn't even extend forward into his space, and they still call that a foul. That to me, that's an offensive foul. It's the same thing as kicking your leg out if you're the shooter. And they're just giving Chris Middleton, free throws at this point just to get him going. I thought that was some pretty atrocious calls, Ben. So I'm giving that the gold star.
Most definitely. There was a lot of reffing things that went on tonight, but we're not going to blame the loss on the refs. It's obviously the Raptors just didn't hit shots. But yeah, Chris Middleton, and you can call the fouls. I think it's fair to call the fouls on those running plays because it's a bang-bang call, and he got called for one offensive foul. But giving him the free throws, as you mentioned, just to get him going and stuff, that's really tough because we see Lowry draw 1 or 2 of those a game, but he never gets put on the free throw line for it. They always call it on the floor. We saw it once tonight where he blatantly had a shooting foul, and they called it on the floor. So it's got to go both ways with that, Ryker. So completely agree with you. But one final question I want to throw at you, Ryker. After watching this game, after watching what we've seen from the Toronto Raptors and the Milwaukee Bucks this season, will the Raptors beat the Milwaukee Bucks in a 7-game series if we play them in the playoffs right now?
Ben, I have no doubt. It's a weird sense of confidence. We mentioned at the beginning of the pod, I think we exposed the chinks in the armor of the Milwaukee Bucks. I would be confident going into a 7-game series that Nick Nurse and the boys would be able to figure out how to win it, just simply from the things that they saw that worked, and they just were a little bit off tonight. I think that over a 7-game stretch, there's no way that they're losing to the Milwaukee Bucks.
I am in complete agreement with you, Ryker, and for all the people that are a bit rotted after this game, don't feel bad. The Raptors been strong all season, and I think the Raptors, They just have it. I think they have that it factor right now, and I'm very confident going to a series. And Ryker, before we end it off, I want to plug our post-game podcast after Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals last year. People were flaming us in the comment section saying that we were homers and all that sort of stuff because we said that we were extremely confident that the Raptors are going to beat the Bucks after being down 0-2, after we got slapped in Game 2 in Milwaukee, and it ended up happening. It's probably the first time we've been in unison with a controversial take that ended up getting right, both of us. So I'm just like then. I feel the exact same now. The Toronto Raptors are going to beat the Milwaukee Bucks in the playoffs if we end up going against them. That's our take right now. You heard it here. You can revert back to it in June, July if we get there. So book it. You guys are the best for making this far. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all that cool stuff. Ryker, you have any last words?
Ben, we'll let it simmer. Cheers.